don't care how many times you've heard it, this is a false statement. You are a born leader. That person is a natural born leader. That is a false statement. No one is born a leader. In order to become a leader, it takes a process of training in order to become a leader. That's why I've got good news for everybody today, is that being a leader isn't some kind of trait that you were born with or not born with. Being a leader, we all, every man, woman, boy, and girl under the sound of my voice and those watching by the webcast, all of us have within us the ability to be trained to be a leader. All we have to do is to see the need and to allow our lives to be trained. As a matter of fact, the spiritual success of your family, father, the spiritual success of your family, mother, is that you learn how to lead your children. You learn how to lead your children. That's why parents come first. Amen. Is because we are the leaders. That's why we come first, is because we are the leaders. And the spiritual success of my children greatly hinge upon me mentoring my children. My job is to mentor my children. That's right, to mentor them. Because the only way that the church will reach the world, and I'm bouncing back and forth between our family and the church, but how goes the family, goes the church. If the family is intact, the church is intact. Always remember this, that God had a family before He had a church. Don't get them confused. God had a family in the garden before God had a church. And what messed up humanity was that the family. And so my job, my ministry, my wife's ministry, your job, Father, your job, your ministry, Father, is that you can mentor your children so that when they get out on their own, they just simply duplicate what you have put in them by mentoring them. As a matter of fact, the church multiplies only when we mentor people to go out and do exactly what they have been taught to do. Can you say amen? Now, growing up, there was a game that all of us played. Maybe some of us still play it. I don't know. Probably with the grandchildren, I would assume. But the game is follow the leader. You ever played that game, follow the leader? It's a really simple little game, isn't it? What do? You follow the leader. If the leader marches, you march. If the leader runs, you run. And then you go in, that kind of dovetails into another little game we play called Simon Says. Anybody ever played Simon Says? Come on, admit it today. Simon Says. Simon Says, raise your hand. Simon Says, you keep on doing it until you do something that Simon didn't say, and then you're out. Don't you wish that becoming a leader was as easy as the game Follow the Leader? Don't you just wish that when you got those kids and they were born, that you could just lead them and say, clean up after yourself? And they did. Don't you wish it was just that easy to say, be on time? Don't you wish it was that easy to say, one time, take out the garbage? You know, Simon Says, take out the garbage. Mama Says, make up your bed. Mama Says, don't park behind the car. Whatever Mama, don't you just wish, and don't you wish that, that they just did it. You just one time you bent down and showed the 2-year-old how to tie his shoes, and you got up and you never had to show him how to tie the shoes again. Well, you know, that's a fallacy. In order to be a leader, you have to continually go back over and over and over and over again. General Douglas MacArthur once said these words. He said, "A true leader has confidence to stand alone." Let that sink in. A true leader has the confidence to stand alone. We will never lead our families if we lack the confidence that what we are doing is worth standing alone, regardless of who agrees or disagrees. He said, "A true leader has the confidence to stand alone, the courage to make tough decisions, and the compassion to listen to the needs of others." I would, if you're writing this down, a true leader, because you need to know how, if you're fitting the mold of a true leader, can you stand alone? Are you confident in what you're telling your children or what you're telling those that you lead? Are you confident in what you're saying? So confident that you're willing to stand absolutely alone if it takes it? Are you a person that you have that confidence inside of you? Are you a person that can make tough decisions? Tough decisions. Do you know many children today many children suffer from abuse today. It is not physical abuse they suffer from. It is not verbal abuse they suffer from. It is they suffer from the lack of a parent willing to give what is called tough love. Tough love. I applaud all the parents that have discovered that their children or their son or their daughter had things on their computer that was getting ready to bomb a school or shoot up a school. I applaud any mother or father that had tough love enough to pick up the phone and call the authorities and say there's something going on back in here. That's not a parent that doesn't love their child. That's opposite. That is a parent that loves their children. But you can't lead your children trying to be their best friend. You cannot lead people trying to be their best friend. As a parent, you cannot lead people trying to be their best. You cannot lead your children trying to be their best friend. It just doesn't work. Let being a friend be on down the list a little bit, but first be a mentor, first be a parent, because there's no one that loves that child the way that you love that child. There's no one that cares about that child. And let me say this, if that's not so with you, you need to pray in the altar until you get a natural love, because it is not natural not to love your children. It is unnatural not to have a love for your children. And if you have children, that's right. If you have children today, and you've tuned out, and it's just kind of like, you know, I must be missing something. You are missing something. You need to get in an altar and you need to pray, and you need to specifically tell God that you don't have the natural love for your child as you should have, because you should have a love that nobody else has. Oh, I'm getting them to the church because Brother Carpenter really loves them. Look up here at me today. Look up here at this 5'7" green-eyed preacher today. I do not love your children like you love your children. The school teacher, Brother Hammond, Brother Erickson, none of us, we don't love your children like you love your children. And in order sometimes to be a leader to your children, you have to have the courage to stand alone. You have to have the courage. You have to have the courage to make tough decisions. When they are whining and crying and my world's going to come to an end, and I had planned Friday night, Mom, to go out with all the youth and on and on and on, but I disobeyed you and I didn't do something on Thursday that I should have done. When will that child ever learn that there's consequences to their behavior? There's rewards when they do right, and there's consequences when they do wrong. If they never do that, then their transgression. Y'all may be seated today. Then their transgressions is going to only grow and grow and grow and grow over time. So sometimes mom has to have tough love when the daughter slams the bedroom door. And she shouldn't slam the bedroom door either. But sometimes that mama has to have tough love when she hears the girl whimpering in her room. Because tough decisions are things that leaders have to make. You think it's easy? You think it's easy when someone disqualifies themselves from leadership in the church? You think it's easy, Brother Lee? Do you think it's really easy, Brother Bishop Croucher? When somebody, through the history of the church, 35 years of pastoring, there have been people that have disqualified their lives from leadership. And people that would not be honorable enough to remove themselves from that position. So what it took a trip to the office. You think it was easy for me to sit down and look at people and ask for the keys to the building? You think that I really enjoyed that? You think I got a good night's rest the night before, knowing that I'm going to meet a man or meet a woman? If I meet a woman, have my wife with me. I snuck that one in. All y'all in training, I snuck that one in, all right? You think Sister Jeter, do you think I just slept peacefully and had a big breakfast that morning and come over here and on my way to do something? No, it's a tough decision. But you know, if I leave that person in that position, number one, it's not good for them. They'll never realize the error of their way being left in that position. When will they ever be ministered to? They don't need to be in a Sunday school room. They don't need to be outside of this wall while this is going on right here. This is the only thing that can change their life. No, it's been a tough decision. Has families left the church throughout the years? Absolutely. I've had to do tough decisions, and it's just the way it is. I've had to remove people from leadership. Because of sin, I've had to say, you've disqualified your life. I didn't go in like an old police officer and go in like I'm the Holy Joe. No, it broke my heart. I cried. But I knew what's best for this individual, that they've got to be removed. They've got to be set down. They've got not put out of the church. I didn't say put out of the church. Set down so that they can be ministered to. Has families left the church over it throughout the years? Yes. Will families leave the church? That would be left up to them, but more than likely, don't be surprised. But if you try to lead a church based on how many people you can keep, you are just developing a country club. You are not developing a church of the living God. And if you are raising your children and you are afraid of your children, if you are raising your children and it just tears you up, it just ends your day, to have to discipline them. And really, our hearts are deceitful. Our hearts are deceitful because sometimes parents will not discipline their children, not because they don't want to inflict pain upon them, but because they don't want to spoil their day. Don't you know this is spoiling my day to have to put you in some kind of pain? It's going to spoil my day. But moms and dads today, in order to be a good leader, we have to have the courage to stand all alone. We have to know that what we're doing is right, and to be good leaders, we have to be able sometimes to make tough decisions. And yes, the Sunday school attendance plummets for a little bit. And yes, there can be some empty seats for a little bit. But again, you have to make decisions not people-pleasing, but you have to make decisions what's best for the church as a whole. You make decisions with your children. I spank them today. And I know that there's politically correct people here that are just having a heart attack right now. I spank them. I spank my children today in order to correct their behavior tomorrow. Right. I spank them today. I take the car keys away today. I tell them they cannot go out to eat today because I'm trying to correct their behavior tomorrow. Because as sorry as that little blue-eyed darling wants to tell you, and as sorry and big crocodile tears that they want to drip down and tell you why they did what they did, you have to look beyond. The Bible even says, spare not for their tears. You have to even go on and say, well, the reason you're not going out tonight is next week you will be faced with the same temptation. And when you're faced with the same temptation next week, I want you to feel, I want you to understand that there were consequences, and I want that to help you to overcome your temptation, and I want to mentor you, son, into making the right decisions. Because I may walk you hand in hand to the first grade. I may walk you hand in hand to the second grade. But like Sister Carpenter teaches, as a parent, we are continually working ourselves out of a job. That's a successful parent, is to work yourself out of a job. In other words, when they get 18 and they can go out on their own, they can get their apartment across town, they can do what they want to do, you have mentored them in the right way to where you look around on Sunday morning and here they come in. You didn't have to holler up the steps and get them. You didn't have to get them out of bed because you have mentored them in the way that they should go. And would you give the Lord a hand of praise right now?